Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. You are watching the War on Gaza report every single day here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. We do our best to keep you updated on Israel's genocide in Gaza. When we began on October 7th, 2023, we immediately recognized that this was not a war against Hamas. This was not a war between two feuding parties. This wasn't a war in Gaza. It was a war on Gaza. It became very clear to the international community from day one, if not day one, certainly day two, that this was a genocide. And so we've continued to call it the War on Gaza report, as we also recognize unequivocally that this is a full-fledged genocide. And it's been difficult, and everyone is worn out emotionally. Everyone is exhausted physically. But the work we do covering the story is nothing compared to the plight, the condition, the experiences of the Palestinian people all around the world, and certainly in Gaza, who are the victims of this genocide. I continue to send them love and solidarity, undying solidarity, as they struggle for self-determination, liberation, freedom. Anyway, we're going to do a very quick War on Gaza update. We literally have to. I literally have to run, but I wanted to at least give just a couple quick updates, and we'll do our best to do a deeper dive later in the week, maybe even tomorrow. I'll check and see, but I want to begin really quickly where I always begin, which is with the numbers. As of now, Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 44,429 people. 44,429 people. And it's wounded 105,250 people since October 7th. And of course, those are very conservative numbers. Those are according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, the Gazan Health Ministry, which obviously is not counting the people under the rubble. They're not counting, as Lancet study talks about, the secondary deaths. I mean, 44,000 is probably 1/5 of who's dead now, maybe half at best, not counting the rubble. And the projections are to be hundreds of thousands. So this is an absolute horror, no matter how you think about it. And as we talk about Israel's recent invasion of Lebanon, in Lebanon right now, there are at least 3,961 people who have been killed, and another 16,520 people wounded in Israeli attacks since then. A UN agency for Palestinian refugees, the UN agency, also known as UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency, says that it is halting shipments through the Kadem Abu Salam crossing between Israel and Gaza over a series of attacks on aid convoys. There's been a lot of conversation about this. I hear the Zionist media, or not Zionist media, the pro-Zionist media outlets. The outlets themselves aren't Zionist, but their positions are pro-Zionist. They've argued it's all Hamas stealing everything. There are other people on the pro-Palestinian side I've seen say it's all the Israeli military, it's all the IOF soldiers and such. The truth is a little bit more complicated than that. It's not in the middle. It's not a both sides thing. Ultimately, the reason why there's no aid getting to Palestinians is because of the Israeli military and because of this genocidal blockade. Are there Hamas-affiliated groups that are maybe attacking trucks? I can't say. I suspect the answer is yes, based on what I'm hearing on the ground. But even their ability to attack those convoys or raid or loot those convoys is directly connected to the collaboration with the IDF. Again, no Palestinian has the ability to determine the distribution of humanitarian aid or the undermining of humanitarian aid. If Israel wanted humanitarian aid to get to Palestinian people in Gaza, it would get there. It's that simple. So I don't doubt that there are Palestinians undermining the success of their own people. I don't deny that there are scoundrels who are looting trucks, but it's not just Hamas or Hamas affiliated groups looting trucks. It's a lot of other factors, and even again, all those factors are part of a coordinated effort by Israel, by Israeli military, to obstruct aid access, which again is a war crime. That is what it is. Anyway, Israeli forces killed at least 10 Palestinians in an attack on Beit Lahia in northern Gaza, raising the death toll from attacks on Sunday to 34 people. 34 people killed in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza, which is, I, I, I don't know. More thoughts on that later. But Beit Lahia is an area in northern Gaza. 34 people have been killed on Sunday. On Sunday. Anyway, a top medical official in Gaza accuses Israeli forces of using, quote, internationally prohibited weapons in the enclave that causes, quote, entire bodies to vaporize. I will be getting more information on this story on Night School one day this week. We'll cover that in greater detail, because the idea of using internationally prohibited weapons is not a shocker. Israel has violated so many other international rules, covenants, promises, conventions, standards, norms, that this is no different. The United States does the same thing. Canada often does the same thing. The UK does the same thing. Israel's not alone in this, but they are part of a cadre of powerful Western nations who often violate international law and international convention when it comes to the use of certain weapons. So we'll get to all of that. There's been a talk recently, getting an update as of 15 minutes ago, that Fatah, formerly known as the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, is holding discussions in Cairo with Hamas on proposals put forward by Egypt on reopening the Rafah border crossing. That is according to the Anadolu news agency. Abdullah told Anadolu, Fatah is keen on an immediate end to the Israeli war on the Gaza Strip, expediting aid delivery and initiating reconstruction. The Fatah delegation is present in Cairo, discussing with the Hamas delegation Egyptian proposals related to reopening the Rafah border crossing and having the Palestinian Authority manage it on the Palestinian side. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm not very optimistic. Anyway, one more story that you all may have heard inside of Israel is that Itamar Ben-Gvir, the super right-wing minister, has decided to ban the Adhan, the call to prayer, inside of Israel proper. Some of these things feel like provocations. They feel like ways to draw international attention away from the reality that Israel is killing so many innocent and unarmed people. But we'll see what happens. What we know right now, as I conclude, is that Israel's relentless bombardment of the Gaza Strip has continued in the last few hours. We're seeing attacks all across the territory. In the north, of course, the Israeli forces are blowing up buildings in Jabalia refugee camp. We've seen that. We've seen the artillery attacks I just talked about in Beit Lahia. But we also saw shelling in Abbas and El Kabira, which is in southern Khan Yunis. And we're seeing just indiscriminate violence everywhere. That's just a very quick update. We'll get into the policy stuff a little bit later. But I wanted to at least give an overview. Jazz LP writes in and says, I remember asking this question before. What is the Nation of Islam doing about Gaza? Why can't they lock arms and send a delegation? It's a great question. The answer is, I know that the Nation of Islam has lent unequivocal support to the Palestinians in Gaza and been very critical of Israel. I don't think they've ever been afraid of that or ashamed of doing that. In terms of sending aid, the question to me isn't sending the aid, it's how the aid gets there. I don't know if the Nation of Islam has sent money directly to UNRWA, which is what I would recommend, or if they've supported third-party causes. I just don't know the answer to that. Oftentimes they will make donations and offer support and not publicly say it, because for them the goal is justice, not the attention. That said, I don't know what they're doing. Sending a delegation, I don't know. First of all, the Nation of Islam isn't very big. So in terms of a formal member, so I don't know how big of a delegation they could send that would actually be a game changer at all for aid distribution. You know, if they send 100 people or 500 people or 1,000 people, I'm not sure what that does. And I also don't believe that anybody from the Nation of Islam will be allowed into Gaza right now because of security coordination that happens between Israel and the PA. You know, the idea is that Palestine or Gaza is a sovereign place and people can just come and go as they want. But once again, when you can control who comes in and out of a country, you're the sovereign, not them. Anyway, everybody, I want to thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that join button. And if you're so inclined, please make a donation if you can to the channel. Go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Anything you send will be greatly appreciated. We love you, and I'll see you tomorrow for night school.